everybody, it's Jennifer, and I want to help you troubleshoot any issues that you're having with your Bengkung binding. And I know that I get a lot of messages through my company, Art of Natural Wellness, with women asking, does it work with my body type? You know, not everybody's body type looks like this, you know? Especially postpartum, my goodness, our bodies are so different than even what we're used to, but we have new curves and new jiggly places, and it's just, oh my gosh, you just want something that will fit your body and be comfortable, and you don't want to put too much thought into it, I know, but this incredible practice, this ritual of Bengkung binding, should be a beautiful, self-loving ritual that should not cause you any stress. It's going to take a little bit of time to get used to tying it, but it's very simple, and I want to troubleshoot any issues that you might have depending on your body type so that it is not stressful. I'm going to jump right into it. I know that when something isn't working for me and I get frustrated, that is when my husband says the only time when I'm actually really crabby. So I empathize with you if you do Bengkung bind already and you're having some of these issues. I can assure you that I will remedy them with these few tricks that I'm going to show you here in just a moment. If you are new to Bengkung binding and you're considering it but worried about your body type, one of the most beautiful things about Bengkung binding is that it is adjustable for every body type. So with every wrap that you put around your body, you can customize it to fit you perfectly. And that is regardless of if you have a body like this, or if you're more curvy, or what have you. It is adjustable to fit you. You just need to know these simple tricks that will help it stay in place, stay strong, and keep that structure for you, regardless of how many curves you have, what body type you have in general. A lot of women come to me with larger bottom area and hips, and they say that they have kind of a dramatic curve that goes into their waist, and that, you know, maybe they're worried that the bind won't stay in place, or they're getting skin that's coming through the bind. The bind is kind of migrating upwards and scrunching around their waist. Well, these are very, very simple tricks that you can use to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I'm going to jump into it. If you have watched any of my other videos, especially my how-to Bengkung bind video, you'll see that you need to first get a tail, and you'll do that by taking your wingspan. So stretching your arms out, holding one end, and then grabbing the other end. Now that is going to be where your first knot is going to be. Some women immediately postpartum really want to take advantage of the relaxin in their hips, and they want to bring their hips in, so they're going to bind further down. Some women bind a little bit further up because they're most interested in their stomach region. But either way, you want to knot the first knot as tight as you comfortably can, because this is going to keep it in place. This is going to help keep it as low as you decide you want to put it. This is one of the factors that's going to help keep it there. But you want to tie it as tight as you comfortably can. Okay, so now we have this tail, and again, if you've watched my videos on how to bind, you know that you want to keep this tight. Some women like to put it in the crook of their elbow and their shoulder to hold it tight. Other women hold it in their teeth. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to throw it over her shoulder, but you're not going to want to do that, because the tighter you keep everything, the better chance it's all going to stay in place. So pretend like she has it in her teeth, and we are going to start wrapping. Now, this is the next most important tip in keeping your bind in place, making sure your belly doesn't poke through between the wraps, and that is overlapping. This is probably one of the most important tips that I could give you to anyone binding with any body type. you want to overlap by half or more. Usually, I would say maybe 1.5 inches of the bottom wrap is visible. I do get a lot of questions from people who say 17 yards, that seems a little excessive. Will I use all of it? You know, if you're binding properly, then yes, you probably will, if you are overlapping properly. So the overlapping not only keeps the bind in place, it will give it more structure, it will keep your stomach from coming through. It is just a very vital component in binding. So we're gonna go ahead and continue this overlap all the way around until we get to the front to make our wrap around with the tail. Now, we know that this is a true knot here, but we'll call this a knot as well, just so that we all know what we're talking about here. All right, so this is held very tight. Now, here's the thing. One of the other most important factors is making sure that these knots are close together, that there's not a lot of space. So if you can see here, if I don't give it a tug and I start making my knot, there's space between these two knots. Okay? We don't want that because that's not giving it the structure. Think of these knots that go up the middle as kind of the backbone of the bind. They're what helps keep it straight and keep it in place. You want to make sure that those are very close together. Very easy way to do that is give it a tug before you start wrapping it around. Now, if I pull up on this knot, it's still touching the last knot. It's not going anywhere. So we're giving it a very good backbone so that it can't move. Now, if you think about it, if you have these knots that are kind of hard, right? They are touching each other, then the bind can't really migrate around. It has something stable holding it in place. So again, very, very important. Then you're gonna wanna hold this tight again. And we are going to go through and overlap again and overlap quite a bit. You're going to see maybe 1.5 inches of the last one. And here we go again. Wrapping it around. Pulling it tight. Giving the tail that nice tug so that we can get those knots close to each other. And then just wrapping it around the rest of the bind and pulling that over. So again, I pull up here, all of these are still touching. First of all, you have a very strong foundation with the knot that you have low down. You have this first wrap as tight as you comfortably can get it and secured with a knot. It's not going to go anywhere, okay? Then you have your wraps coming around and overlapping by 3/4 of the width of the bind. That's going to keep it so that skin can't poke through. It's also going to make the bind tighter and the integrity of it stronger because you have more layers. Then the other factor that is so important is this amazing backbone of the bind, which is the knots. They are pressed up against each other so that it is giving it that stability so that it can't migrate around and your skin can't poke out in between any of it. And it will just stay in place regardless of your body type. So these are the 3 tips that will make your Bengkung bind not only fit any body type, but also keep you from having some of the issues that women have when they're just not wrapping properly. This will mitigate any of those issues. This will keep the bind nice and solid and strong for you without having to worry about stomach bulging out or it moving around or being uncomfortable. So I hope this helps you if you're trying to troubleshoot your Bengkung binding, or if you're considering binding and you are having questions as to whether or not it will work with your body type. I can assure you that this will work with any body type as long as you follow these few tips and make sure that you bind properly. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer them. You can also reach me on my Etsy page, and I will leave a link in the description below for that as well. And until next time, be well.